starts right now.
It was the rain we needed, but the problems from it are not welcome.
Justin Horde tracking the latest. He now joins us live across the room in the weather lab. Justin?
Hey, good afternoon to you guys. Was welcome rain. For the most part, it came down pretty heavy in spots, and it didn't cause a lot of problems here around San Antonio, other than we did have some power outages this morning. There were some spots on some of the freeways. There may have been some puddles that built up. The heavier rain generally stayed off to the east, and that's where it is now. We've got some big-time storms as you head out towards Houston. That's where there is a new tornado watch box in effect down along the coast and closer to the city of Houston, not in our viewing area. So we're done with the rain for the most part. And as we look at the live radar, you can see these showers are starting to move out, move away from San Antonio. We've still got some clouds, but even those will start to go away as we head into the afternoon. So let's look at a few things here. This is a closer look at the city of Seguin. Still some rain there. That'll be moving out momentarily, but you're still getting some pockets of heavier rain there within the city and along I-10 as well. Back over towards San Antonio, things are clearing out. We're pretty much done with the rain, other than far eastern Bexar County. Still seeing a few showers at this hour, and there's still is some pockets of heavier rain perhaps out towards Forestville and Stockdale. Then the heavier rain, as we said, is well off to the east, but places like Hallettsville and Cuero, they've been picking up a ton of rain here over the last several hours, and there were some severe storms earlier. Those have since pushed east, but the heavy rain continues, so there could be some minor flooding in these spots, Cuero and Hallettsville up to parts of Lavaca County, and we'll keep close watch on that. Here's the scene outside in San Antonio. Again, the rain has stopped. 51 degrees and cloudy at the airport. Northwesterly winds at 17. That's going to be the other thing we have to contend with today. Once this kind of clears out, we're going to get some very gusty winds this afternoon. 57 at 3 o'clock. 58 our high temperature, and look for northwesterly winds anywhere from 10 to 20, but gusting to 30, maybe even 35 in some cases, and it gets chilly tonight. Temperatures will be in the 30s by the time we get into tomorrow morning. More on that forecast in just a bit.
Looks good out there. Thank you so much, Justin. Meantime, that weather we had this morning making some people wish that they'd never gotten out of bed today. It did cause thousands of power outages throughout the morning, and it kept some people from getting to work or school on time. Katrina Weber shows us even those who got going found trouble along the way.
With no traffic lights as guidance, drivers along Heimer Road are on the honor system. Nature, rainy weather left them on their own, and thousands of people in the dark.
Luckily, it's daytime, so you can see, but everything's out. Refrigerator, nothing's on.
Michael Gray did a quick check of his apartment after power also went out briefly at work around 7:30 this morning.
I just wanted to put my milk in the freezer, my eggs in the freezer for right now, because you don't know how long this is going to last.
The power outages actually began plaguing people throughout the city before the sun came up.
Nothing was on, no gas station lights, no street lights, so I just thought to myself, well, this will be interesting.
Latoya Adams was surprised to find her gym, the Union near Highway 281 in Thousand Oaks, was a bright spot in it all, thanks to emergency lighting.
We just decided the show must go on because people need their fitness, and that's how they feel better in the morning.
CPS Energy says bad weather triggered more than a dozen fires on its poles, which led to the widespread electrical problems. Today was supposed to be an unusual day here at Coker Elementary. They're celebrating the 100th day of school, but because of the power outage, instead of highlighting that, they're using flashlights to get by. It's a day for the record books, even if it was tough for students to hit the books here. Others without power, meanwhile, were forced to learn a lesson in patience. Katrina Weber, KSAT12 News.
And although those outages were widespread, most of them, including the one that was at Coker Elementary, lasted only a few hours. And right now, there are only about 20 active outages.
Andre McDonald went looking for his wife at a local hospital the first day she was missing. His trial continued this morning with more testimony by the state. McDonald, an Air Force major, charged with the 2019 murder of his wife. The first witness this morning spoke about what took place on March 1st, 2019, the day Andreen McDonald was reported missing. First, surveillance video from inside a hospital shows Andre McDonald arriving and asking if his wife was there. The front desk person told him a person with that last name, McDonald, was there and he could go in the back. The front desk person said what happened next was unusual.
He just started off down that hallway and then just told me something like I got to go cut off the oven. at home and just left.
It was later determined that person by the name McDonald was not Andreen, and it was just a coincidence. We also heard this morning from the first responding Bexar County Sheriff's Office deputy who arrived at the scene when Andreen was reported missing. He talked about how after seeing the blood inside the home, a burn pit, and minor damage to McDonald's car, he determined more investigation was needed. This trial is expected to go through this week and into next week. You can watch live on KSAT.com, KSAT+, and KSAT's YouTube channel.
The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office hoping that you can help them identify a man who was found on the side of a road back in 2017. The medical examiner says this body found in East San Antonio. He is believed to have been 5'11" in height and 270 pounds in weight. If you have any information, you could call the medical examiner's office. The phone number there on your screen, 210-335-4011.
Today, State Senator Roland Gutierrez is set to announce 4 bills that have been filed in the wake of that mass shooting in Uvalde. The bills aim to address rising gun violence and to increase victims' access to resources they need. It's been 8 months since the Robb Elementary School shooting. Since then, Uvalde families had difficulty accessing services, resources, and financial support. The bills will be presented during a hearing today.
A man has now been arrested in a hit-and-run crash that killed a man walking across an East Side street last week. San Antonio police say 43-year-old Alvin Charles Bates hit 25-year-old Abraham Ortega last Wednesday. This was in the 200 block of South W.W. White Road, just south of Interstate 10. Police say that Ortega was walking across the road when Bates hit him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Surveillance video showing Bates's vehicle hit that victim, then went into a parking lot and then left. Footage also showed that the Dodge Durango had an inoperable passenger headlight. Police said that the car parts that were left behind at the scene matched the make and model of the car. Police were led to Bates after someone reported seeing blood on his vehicle. Arrest paperwork states that Bates told police he didn't mean to hit Ortega. He said he left the scene because he was scared.
San Antonio Councilman Clayton Perry appeared in court today for the first time since police accused him of driving drunk and leaving head-on crash back on November 6th. The District 10 councilman and a pre-trial conference this morning for both his charges, failure to stop and provide information and DWI. However, his appearance turned out to be a brief one. Perry's attorney said he and the prosecutor were still conferring on the case and trying to come up with some resolution. So the judge reset his court date to March 8th. Perry remains on the San Antonio City Council, having returned from a 2-month leave of absence about a week and a half ago. Perry is eligible to run for a 4th term in the May 6th election, but it's still not clear if he will. So far, no one has filed to run for his District 10 seat.
A $2.5 billion overhaul, that's the price tag for the new expansion of air travel in San Antonio that's in the works. Max Massey with why it won't happen overnight and how San Antonio International isn't the only airport here that's going to get a makeover.
It's easy. I'm looking at the flights, looking at the way everything's diagrammed. It just makes it so easy for myself, coming from different cities and all that, able to pinpoint where I need to go.
Jesse serves in the Army and he sees airports around the world. Of course, he realizes how efficient San Antonio International is.
So I'm like, I think I showed up too early.
With this airport as we know it, it's going to look a lot different in the coming years.
It's a $5.2 billion economic impact to the city, the airport is. So, you know, we want to continue to grow that.
The director of airports tells me this airport is a huge economic driver for our city. And the next step of the $2.5 billion expansion comes just next month.
We have some final renderings that we need to bring to council in the middle of February. Once we finalize those efforts, we'll start to work on the enabling projects.
And there are huge plans here at San Antonio International Airport, but it's not the only local airport that could see huge changes.
We went out to the community there at Stinson and sat down and talked about, you know, 4 different alternatives that are available for the community to sit down and look at some of those alternatives.
The idea for Stinson could bring new opportunities, new runways, and new jobs. As for San Antonio International, with a long-term plan now underway, there's a lot of ideas being floated.
Everything's so simple, but a little more attraction to see and get to know San Antonio from the airport and have to go out.
Max Massey, KSAT12 News.
The San Antonio ISD Board of Trustees have voted to renew charters for 18 schools in SAISD. The vote came in last night. 3 schools were approved for 5-year renewal terms, 12 schools approved for 4-year renewal terms, and 3 campuses renewed on 3-year probationary contracts. We've got a list of the schools on KSAT12.
Coming up this weekend, SAISD holding a career fair. The district looking to recruit carpenters, construction helpers, cooks, custodians, drivers, electricians, mechanics, plumbers, and more. You can register in advance online. At the event, be prepared for an on-site interview and even get hired right there on the spot. It starts at 9 on Saturday morning. It ends at noon the same day at SAISD's central office that's on Quincy Street.
Game 1 of a 3-game road trip for the Spurs started off good last night, but it ended bad. Ooh, what happened? We'll show you the highlights coming up.
A local artist's work on display, how people in his life inspired these pieces.
A local artist shining light on the strength and power of African-American women in a new exhibit.
Tiffany Huerta shows us who inspired the paintings of this artist and where you can see them in person.
Essence and Style is about an appreciation and celebration of the black woman, the African-American woman.
Wardell Piquette is the artist behind these paintings at the new exhibit.
Well, the gold is there and it's actually shiny gold. If you shine light on it, it reflects back. It's to just describe that royalty and that inner light that's within black women.
The exhibit is at the Bell House located on Fredericksburg Road near Vance Jackson Road. Wardell says it's special to see all his paintings in one place.
Some of them they're from different series, from different years. Some of them are very recently completed for this show.
Wardell says his inspiration behind these pieces came from women who played a major role in his life.
I wouldn't be here today without black women. My grandmother inspired me in my art pursuits. One of my aunts was always pushing me for educational excellence.
The exhibit is open Fridays and Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Tiffany Huertas, KSAT12 News.
All right, we are still watching the weather, at least for now. Our rain is over.
Give the rain a hand.
Yeah, give Justin Horn a hand. He got up early to keep us informed.
I was excited about it, though. I really was. This is so nice to see. You turn your sprinklers off, not that we really need them this time of year, but with this kind of rain, it's been very healthy. The aquifer is up half a foot to 636.6. Let's hope it keeps going up by tomorrow morning. In your pollen count, molds are low and Licking Mountain Cedar dropped all the way down to 70.
More reason to celebrate.
Exactly. Rain's washing some of that out. Hopefully, we're kind of winding down the season. That would be great. We'll take a look at the rainfall totals. We've got those updated, plus another look at the radar coming up.
So what you're saying is nothing else matters today because we got some rain.
Well, this wasn't the most rain we've gotten in a long time, but it's a lot of rain for us.
Well, I think it came over a long period, so it's kind of I don't want to call it a true soaking rain, but we saw it for several hours. Good rainfall in spots. The numbers weren't as high as we had hoped, about half an inch here in San Antonio, and I'll show you those numbers here in just a second. But all in all, it was a good event for us. It's been a long time since we've got to use the radar like this, at least. Let me show you the radar because we still do have some pretty good storms out there. These are generally moving out of our area, moving into the Houston area where there are some stronger storms and there have been a few tornado warnings. We did have one just south of Hallettsville, tornado warning earlier. No reports of any damage or anything like that, but certainly some gusty winds around Cuero and Hallettsville. We saw some gust estimates around 60 miles per hour. This line of storms is progressing east pretty quickly. There's another weaker line behind that will continue to work through our eastern counties. But once that passes, we're done here with the rainfall. And that certainly is the case here around San Antonio. I'll zoom in a little bit closer here around the city of San Antonio. And yes, the rain is over with, other than one lone shower down there around Bronick Lake. Here in town, it's just cloudy right now. There could even be a few breaks here soon with the sun trying to pop out. If you're watching from Seguin, the rain's left there too. It'll work towards Gonzales here next hour or so. And again, after that, we are through with the rain. But look at this big system. pretty impressive upper low here. On the back side of it, there's been some pretty heavy wet snow, places like Wichita Falls. I was looking at some of the cameras there from TxDOT. There is some snow accumulating on the grass there in North Texas. Amarillo, Lubbock, got some wintry weather out of this. It'll melt pretty quickly. I don't anticipate that causing huge travel issues, but snow flying there close to Dallas, but not quite. Dallas stayed all rain. And then you see the tornado watch box that has been issued along the Texas coast. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to that and show you which counties are involved. And really, for our area, it's just Beeville, Goliad, Victoria that we'll keep an eye on. So far, there's nothing really down there that jumps off the page. But once those storms move out again, we are saying goodbye to the risk of severe weather. And we have some pictures coming in on our KSAT Connect. I didn't get to pull one up there, but we appreciate you sending in the pictures, showing us what you see at home. Some of those rainfall totals, we love to see it. You got shots of your rain gauge. We'll share those with everyone else. But here's some of the latest rainfall totals that we are seeing. And I just updated these. About half an inch at the airport. Again, not exactly the number we were hoping for, but at least it is some rain. Comfort over an inch, Sutherland Springs over an inch. You start to get into some bigger numbers out here around Howattsville, where I think we'll probably end up with about 2 inches of rain. Gonzales 1.4, Seguin 1.38. And a little closer look here around Bexar County. Fair Oaks Ranch 1.68 there. Stone Oak about half an inch for you. New Braunfels 0.64, area that's been hit very hard by the drought. Good to see some rain coming down. This is 281 at San Pedro. We've been looking at some of the TransGuide cameras too. There's still some puddles on the roads, but the roads look better than they did this morning, and we had quite a few crashes this morning with those wet roads. There's a scene at the airport, and we're at 51. Cloudy skies, dew point at 48, northwesterly winds at 14. With these clouds, which will stick around for a little while longer, it's going to be hard to warm up all that much. So we'll keep temperatures in the 50s today. There should be some sun this afternoon. And then we're going to have to start talking about the gusty winds. Winds gusting 35 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit stronger in spots. Estimating a 43 mile per hour wind gust this afternoon around Creosote Springs. And then as we get into tonight, still some gusty winds, but I think the winds do try to calm some by the overnight hours, and we'll see less wind by tomorrow morning, but it'll be a chilly start. 56 degrees at 2 o'clock, 57, 3 p.m., 58 at 4 p.m., where we start to see more sun, and then clearing out tonight. 53 at 8 o'clock, down into the 40s already by 10 p.m., and it'll feel chilly with that gusty wind. We'll have a wind chill to worry about. 58 coming up tomorrow, 57 Thursday, 58 Friday, mostly cloudy, and then we'll get a 30% chance of showers coming up on Saturday, maybe some morning fog as well. But then another small chance on Sunday. But all in all, a cool week. And we are thankful that we did indeed get to see the rain this morning, something we desperately needed.
Very nicely done. Thank you.
Spurs in Portland last night and let the third quarter get away from them. We'll show you how that happened. And a new record on the slopes. Coming up. The Spurs on the road for 3 across the West, Portland and 2 in L.A. So they started last night with the Blazers. They got off to a good start. Big time effort from rookie Jeremy Sohan. The tip wouldn't go, got the rebound and blocked, but he stayed with it, and eventually he gets the layup. It's 12-9 Spurs. Then a few minutes later, it's Keldon Johnson. Touch through the defense. And then there's Doug McDermott with the big bucket. Spurs and Blazers were tied at 74 at half. Spurs put in a good effort in the second half, but Portland was blazing. They outscored the Spurs 45-27 in the third. Portland's Damian Lillard had 37, 12 assists. He went on to beat the Spurs 147-127. That stopped a 3-game losing streak of their own. Keldon Johnson scored 20. Jeremy Sohan finished with 18. They have lost 7 of their last 8 games now. This team sits second to last in the Western Conference standings, just above the Houston Rockets, but they're still in 4th overall. They want to get in that bottom 3 in order to have a better chance of getting that first-round draft pick. The Spurs travel down the West Coast, take on the Lakers tomorrow night in L.A. Tip-off for that one is scheduled for 9:30. All right, American skier Mikael Shiffrin has won a record 83rd World Cup race. Her victory broke a tie on the all-time women's list with former American teammate Lindsey Vonn. Vonn retired 4 years ago when injuries cut her career short. Shiffrin only needs 3 more wins to match Ingemar Stenmark's overall record between men and women of 86 victories. Stenmark competed in the 1970s and 80s. Sheffer can get that record pretty quick because she's competing again tomorrow. 83 wins on the slopes.
I'm kind of inspired to go home and do some exercise over lunch.
Wow. I'm trying to find people who've actually skied 83 times down the slopes and not got hurt.
Yeah. All right, new today at 5. You've probably heard it or even said it yourself. Put on a jacket. You're going to catch a cold. Is that really true? Can you catch a cold by not dressing warmly enough on a day like today? 12 on your sides, Marilyn Morris is going to give us all the info why mom is not wrong. It's today at 5 after Entertainment Tonight. Well, we have been enjoying some much-needed rain. Take a look at this. Snow in Amarillo.
Wintry weather hit the Panhandle overnight. As much as 8 inches of snow expected to fall in some areas.
That's so pretty.
It is nice.
And even though it's muddy in San Antonio, that's pretty to us at this point.
Lux and galoshes today.
Yeah, it is. Nowhere near as cold as it is up there in the Panhandle, where they do have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. It's a wet snow up there, but it has accumulated in several spots. Here is just rain, as you guys said, and we're still dealing with some stronger storms down closer to the coast, down there around Edna and El Campo, really moving out of our area, and we're seeing the radar become far more quiet than it was this morning. It was a busy scenario. The morning commute was messy. But as we look at San Antonio right now, the rain has cleared out, and we have some clearing starting to show up there in Medina County. So the sun will be out here probably over the next couple of hours and warms us up a little bit, not a lot. It's still pretty chilly out there right now with temperatures in the 50s and still a little bit damp. As we look closer at some of these showers, it's still there. Kennedy over to Floresville, although the rain is ending in Floresville. It has ended in Seguin. Luling, you're next in line. And this broken line will move towards Gonzales and Cuero. Hallettsville, still raining for you, and you'll pick up a little bit more rain before it's all said and done. That's one of the places that picked up quite a bit of rain today. Again, at the airport, only about ½ an inch. Not exactly what we were hoping for. And as we look at the satellite picture, I mentioned that clearing in Medina County. It's trying to work in our direction. So not perfectly clear, but I think the sun pops out by, say, 2, 3 o'clock. And that will help with temperatures a little bit. Right now, 51 at the airport. Still cool. 44 in Kerrville, 47 in Austin, 42 in Fredericksburg, 59 though in Del Rio with some sun there. We're right around 50 here in town at this hour. Still jacket weather. In the forecast for today, I do think we'll rise a little bit into the mid to maybe upper 50s, but the winds kick in. It gets gusty this afternoon, gusts to 35 out of the northwest. Hopefully that does not kick up Mount Cedar, considering we've got rain today. I hope that kind of balances everything out with these gusty winds. We'll talk more about tomorrow's forecast, which starts off really cold. That's coming up here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Justin. Well, another day, another mass shooting in California, the third one in just 8 days. A 67-year-old suspect who's being described as a disgruntled employee opened fire at a farm and then a trucking company. ABC's Rena Roy reports 7 people were killed, but this time the alleged shooter was taken into custody.
Yet another mass shooting in California.
Hands up.
Monday evening, deputies taking down the suspect responsible for opening fire at 2 farms in Half Moon Bay, killing at least 7 and seriously injuring another.
This kind of shooting is horrific. It's a tragedy that we hear about far too often.
San Mateo officials saying deputies were dispatched to Mountain Mushroom Farm after a report of a shooting with multiple victims. Shortly after, first responders discovering 3 more killed at another farm about a mile away. Authorities identifying the suspect as 67-year-old Half Moon Bay resident Chun Li Zhao, found hours later in his car in the parking lot of a police substation.
Zhao was taken into custody without incident, and a semi-automatic handgun was located in his vehicle.
So far, there's no known motive. Investigators in Monterey Park also working to pin down a motive in the shooting at Star Dance Studio that left 11 dead and 9 injured. Authorities discovering a rifle, ammunition, and firearm suppressors in the making in the suspect's home. Hyung Bang was wounded in the shooting.
I feel so scary. I swear all my life I never go to dancing studio. No more.
The community honoring the memory of those lost, the victims all over the age of 50, including 70-year-old Diana Tom, remembered by her family as a hardworking mother, wife, and grandmother who loved to dance.
And just to give some context in all of this, there have been more mass shootings than days of the year so far, with the Gun Violence Archive recording 39 mass shootings in the first 23 days of the year. Rena Roy, ABC News, Half Moon Bay, California.
The man accused of shooting and killing 23 people at an El Paso Walmart plans to plead guilty to federal charges in that case. That's according to court records filed days after the federal government said it wouldn't seek the death penalty in the case. Patrick Crusius was charged with federal hate crimes and firearms violations. He is still charged in state court with capital murder and could still face the death penalty here in Texas if convicted. An arrest warrant state back in 2019. Crusius surrendered to police after the attack and admitted he was the shooter, saying he was targeting Mexicans.
4 more members of the far-right Oath Keepers group now convicted of seditious conspiracy. It is the second major trial resulting in convictions of suspects accused of plotting to keep Donald Trump in power after he lost the election. ABC's Em Nguyen shows us why these men are now facing up to 20 years in prison.
4 additional members of the far-right Oath Keepers militia group have been found guilty of seditious conspiracy and other charges for their involvement in the deadly January 6 attack on the Capitol. Prosecutors convincing a Washington, D.C. jury that the 4 forcibly tried to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election victory and keep Donald Trump in office.
I am grateful to the prosecutors, agents, and staff for their outstanding work in connection with this matter.
The jury handing down a verdict against Joseph Hackett and David Morshell of Florida, both seen in now infamous images moving through mobs in a military-style stack formation. Roberto Minuta of Texas, who clashed with police that day according to court documents, and Edward Vallejo of Arizona, who allegedly was on standby at a nearby hotel in Virginia waiting for the order to bring firearms into the city. All 4 men were also found guilty of conspiring and obstructing an official proceeding. Lawyers for 2 of the defendants saying their clients didn't receive a fair trial.
These men were swept up by the Stop the Steal nonsense that was pushed by the president.
Their trial comes 2 months after Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes and another member were also convicted of seditious conspiracy, the first time a jury found participants in the insurrection were engaged in an organized seditious conspiracy. The Justice Department got another win related to the Capitol riot Monday. Richard Barnett, photographed with his feet up on a desk in then Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office, convicted on all 8 counts he was facing. The seldom used seditious conspiracy charge the 4 Oath Keepers were convicted on carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. The judge has yet to set a date for sentencing. Em Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
Still coming up, Hollywood gearing up for one of its biggest nights of the year, the Oscars. And just hours ago, the Academy announced this year's list of nominees. What films are vying for the gold statue? Coming up.
Amazon is expanding its push into healthcare, what it's offering folks that are looking to save on prescription medications now.